Hey, this is Dr. Drew, and you were listening to This Life
with Bob Forrest
and Dr. Drew.
Here we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gather round. You get your laptop, get your Bluetooth speaker, hook your phone up to your car, and then listen to another episode of This Life with Bob Forrest and Dr. Drew with our favorite guest, Shelly.
Yes, Shelly Sprague, back by extreme demand. Not just popular demand, but extreme demand.
She should have her own podcast, Susan.
Yeah, you
Susan.
Ooh.
Come on now.
I just saw the light bulb go off over her head. Be careful what you wish for.
She comes prepared with her laptop.
I see that. I know a lot of scary stuff on there. But let me get a little business out of the way first. Remind everybody, Facebook.com, Dr. Drew, YouTube/Dr. Drew. Follow us on Twitter, Dr. Drew. And don't forget to subscribe to the shows on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbay, which I'm not very familiar with, and do listen when it hits so we know you're there. We want to give the audience more shows. We want to keep this thing coming. So remember, visit doctor.com and check out the contact list there to give us your emails. We're going to go for some emails today. And I have a series coming out, an ultimate, what should we call it?
The history of opiates.
History of the opiates
in the world.
I read the first part.
You did the first one. So the first part was the prehistory and Neanderthals and stuff. Yeah, right.
I love it.
So we're going all the way to the present.
I can't wait.
Yeah, right now we're working on the
What
Civil
about the
War.
Opium Wars of China?
We get into that.
You're
going to go into that. Don't you worry.
That's some of my favorite stuff.
We don't get deep into it. We just talk about how the British set it up and how it came over here and that kind of stuff. Don't forget a new podcast called Swole Patrol with Mike Cathwood. Also, obviously, Bob and I on This Life. We've got Weekly Infusion. We've got Adam and Drew. Don't forget that one. Dr. Drew Podcast. Get all that stuff at dr.com/shows. And hashtag you live. It's the other way to find everything. So, Shelly, welcome back. We're so pleased that you're here.
I'm so happy to be here.
You had to come across town.
So, yes.
That was miserable. Are you as angry with the mayor as I am for the potholes and the non-functioning roads that we have in Los Angeles? They're unbelievable,
It's
Bob.
unbelievable.
Isn't it
I
something?
live in Claremont, and it's wonderful.
When you hit Orange County, it's like, people can build roads in this country?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You go right out past the 5.
Yes.
And then it's like...
What happened?
Disneyland.
Yes.
It's like a whole new world.
Yes, and I'm going 12 miles an hour, mind you, but I'm going around potholes the entire time.
Yeah.
This is Los Angeles.
What about all the tents everywhere?
Well, that's the other thing I'm PO'd
ridiculous.
about. That's the other thing I'm pissed about. Is it's disgusting that we allow. Have we discussed the homeless?
Yeah, I just think that Garcetti decided you're not going to brutalize the homeless. So now we have these homeless encampments all across Southern California. 48,000 people are homeless. We do nothing.
Seems like more.
Yeah, but listen to this, though. This is my catchphrase. We keep calling it a homeless problem.
Yeah, that's not the issue.
That just means we don't have enough homes. I think we have enough homes.
Right.
We do.
They want it to be...
It's a mental health and addiction problem.
Dude, but they insist on... The LA Times ran a huge article about it.
I saw it on Sunday.
And it opened with, it's these young professionals who have driven up the price of houses. No, that has nothing to do with it. They all have vouchers for housing.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they're mentally ill. They don't want to do it.
They don't want to live indoors.
Right.
Have you ever
That's
been
part
on
of
meth? You've been on cocaine.
Yeah.
All right, so talk about it. Meth. That's what gave us our
meth is big in the homeless community.
Absolutely. And the thing I want to say is, first, I miss Loveline.
Oh.
So if we could please get some kind of Loveline. Everybody tells me how much they miss Loveline. And I do too, because it's such a part of my upbringing. Loved it. Loved Loveline.
So we need to get some an hour of radio at night going again or something.
It was so
community
good.
thing.
I know.
It was so good.
What Loveline was,
So
just think of the diversity of people that listened to it.
I know it was
so
just
good.
when it was even
it was
when
lightning
it was
in a
just
bottle,
the Sunday night.
I know.
When it was the Sunday night after Rodney,
Yeah.
right? It was
Yes.
after Rodney, right?
That's
that
way
was
back. It's the
all LA was listening to that.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And everyone tells me, oh, Loveline. Oh, I love that show. I used to listen to that show when I was coming back from the swing shift from working in rehab in Monrovia. And I got off at 11 or something. And so I would listen to it all the way to West Hollywood, where I lived at the time. And I loved how brilliant you were able to craft some solution-oriented issue
to these
out of
crazy
these
problems.
These crazy, intense problems, but you were referring, you were dealing with them. You were facing their problems with them, and they were like, "Oh, somebody like has an answer to this."
Yeah.
Like these
Well,
guys
thank you.
are in their bedrooms.
And the other thing we had that you and I have agreed, Bob, that we need now is it was a community.
Yes.
It was a gathering.
And it was
we don't
fun.
have that anymore.
It was really
fun.
fun. And then, you always had the juxtaposition of the other guys that you worked with on the show that were like the jokesters and like, kind of keeping things like moving and a little bit light, even though the material got really heavy
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes.
But everybody
really
thinks
heavy.
of it only hosted by Adam, right?
Yeah.
But when I was on most is when Swedish Eagle was your partner, and he wasn't funny. He wasn't funny.
Poor man was trying to be funny back then.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but he was just drunk. But to me, or or
He
I
wasn't
don't
drunk.
know.
He was just himself. Just
He
being
was
goofy.
just
That's
whatever,
the
stoned,
Bob
a
calling
little
the kettle
stoned.
black.
But
I know you were.
Swedish Eagle,
Bob was wasted.
I was wasted.
How could you even utilize your own mind to remember any of those
Because
times
Swedish
with
Eagle-
accuracy?
I just liked it best with Swedish Eagle. It was only like a year, right?
That's right. I don't
And
remember you being there then.
I was there.
I remember you back later in Burbank. And us,
No, when it was in past.
I know, but I remember you in Burbank, and you kept running out and shooting up, and I was like, "We got to
yeah.
get rid of this guy. This is like, this
We
guy."
got to get rid of this guy. That
I was
a
like, how
common-
long are the breaks
No,
around
that
here?
was
That's
the
what I said.
common theme
How long
with
are the
Bob
breaks?
Back in the day, we got to get rid of this guy. Like that's the common theme.
Big theme.
Oh,
It's a
poor
big
Bob.
thing. Oh, Bob's coming. Hide.
Yeah.
Well, that was everybody's take on Bob. And
You want to
then-
know the funniest cocaine take on that? So Frenchie, who's a great friend of ours, who's sober, doesn't mind you knowing that he dealt a little cocaine in his day. So I come to Frenchie's front door, and apparently this is what went on inside. And Gibby and Martine were there.
Yeah.
And Frenchie looked out his window and said, "Oh shit, it's Bob." And they had like an 8-ball, and they put it up and hid it in the kitchen cupboard. And then just when I came in, they acted like there was
They
no
didn't have
drugs
any.
there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
knew
but
there was.
I would say you
Now,
were,
why are these
but you were
three
like,
guys
but you were like
together?
a
Yeah,
dog
what
with
are
a piece
these
of
guys?
meat hanging out. You're like, you start sniffing around the kitchen.
Yeah,
No,
I was
I
like,
mean,
what's
it never
going on,
worked.
you
It
guys?
never worked.
No.
But it
what's
was
going on?
always
Well, then
So
people
then-
started not letting him in.
No,
That's
but
what
then-
started happening.
Yeah, that
next.
was a couple years later. But then it's funny. But this is funny. So Martine finally gives in because I'm just going to sit them out.
Yeah,
I
you're
know
gonna
they're
sit
getting
them out.
high.
You
If
know.
I stay here long enough, they're going to give in and start doing
Yeah,
it.
of course.
So Martine
Exactly.
goes to reach for the Coke, and it was in a baggie, and he
And it
ripped
fall
the
in the wall?
baggie,
Uh-oh.
and the Coke
It
fell
fell
down in the wall.
Yeah, and
and
then
we
they dug
spent
the
like
wall
hours
out.
trying to get the Coke out of the wall.
And
my
then didn't you
God.
guys end up going down the wall?
Yeah,
Just
and
opening
and
the wall
a wall
up?
is made of drywall, which
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
very much like cocaine when
Yeah.
you break it
Oh,
open.
yeah. This was a big...
You started
this was
sniffing the drywall.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
well,
combo
smoking it.
drywall Coke.
No, we were smoking things back then, like heavily smoking things. So you had the cat litter, you had the paint chips, and you had the drywall, and then the cocaine.
Well, I haven't-
But we had a lot less cocaine than drywall.
And Shelly was around a lot of this. I don't know if you remember, but a friend of ours, I don't want to...
No,
Because
take
when
it
you go
easy.
to crack, when you say crack, people don't like their names mentioned. So anyway,
Why?
Oh,
a
please.
rock
Say.
musician who will remain nameless
Okay, good
had
idea.
this great idea that since we always end up after like a day and a half looking on the carpet and looking on the ground, why don't we throw some down there so we know there's some there?
Oh, God,
So
that's
we took
hysterical.
2 huge things of crack and crushed it up into little pieces and threw it all around the living room
that
just to know that later
These are
there's
the
real stuff
insane
down
things
Yeah.
that people do
Now, listen, and
sitting
then-
around an apartment
Right.
with a cottage cheese ceiling.
No, I understand that, and then people go, well, why don't people on meth want to be inside? I mean, they don't understand that people do crazy shit when they're on drugs.
Crazy.
Yeah,
They don't understand like how the
crazy,
mind
yeah.
works.
The
So
brain.
there's twofold of the meth epidemic, and I'll just say what I've observed.
Okay.
The homeless population are on meth.
Yes.
a lot of them.
Huge
Well,
amount.
opiates too.
Huge amount.
Opiates
It's harder
and
to get a
meth.
hold of. Meth they can get for $3.
Yep, you just stand at the,
Right?
you stand at the
So
freeway,
cheap.
and you get if you collect $4 standing at the freeway, you have food for the day and meth for the day.
Yeah.
$4.
But you don't
Yeah.
need food if you have meth.
I understand, but you need food once in a while. But the
Once
point is,
in a
you
while.
stand there for half an hour.
But
Your
meth
day's
is
set.
meth is big
Yes.
in downtown around the missions. Meth is big and spice and weird
Oh, no.
drugs like that sell for $3. Drew.
And yeah, what I think about it too is that the mental illness in combination with the meth and the spice is causing
Craziness.
these people to actually
Be more
have
debilitated than they actually
Yeah.
have
it's
been.
sailing their mental illness
Yeah.
symptoms
Yeah.
through the roof
Right.
with no way to actually rein them in, get them medicated, get them landed,
That's right.
and get them housed.
And no will on behalf of the people who drive by and step over them every day, and our government who thinks they wanted to make it a housing problem.
Yes.
They're out of their minds. This is disgusting. People should be ashamed of themselves that they allow this to happen.
So now the other part of the meth problem is, and I don't think it's as big a problem as Shelly does, I think it's keeping the opiate addicts alive on a certain level. Because I talk to polysubstance abuse nowadays.
On the
Remember,
streets?
what was polysubstance abuse at Los Angeles?
Cocaine,
heroin,
alcohol. No, cocaine, alcohol, pot.
No, but of the opiate addicts, they would use cocaine and alcohol.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So nowadays, it's always meth.
No, it's meth.
It's always meth. And the answer is twofold, I think. One is it's cheaper, right?
More accessible.
Lasts
More
longer.
easily accessed because it's everywhere.
Easily transported.
Right?
Colombia versus Mexico.
Oh, the meth coming from Colombia? No,
Coke
Mexico.
comes from Colombia. But also meth is produced here sometimes.
But not as much.
Yeah.
Remember we used to treat guys that were the cooks. Remember that?
Yes.
Remember this?
I don't remember that.
Oh, dude, there were a couple of them. They would take boats out to past Catalina, cook for a week, and then explode the boat and sink it.
And then
Really?
Yeah,
You don't remember that? Bob's like, really? I want to know that cool guy.
I only like the opiate addicts.
Well, the one thing that I'm dealing with is that now that they're doing both together, there's a syndrome that's happening where
There's opiates and meth.
opiates and meth, heroin and meth, or fentanyl and meth,
Yeah.
both. What's happening is that the cravings for meth come back so fast, overwhelm the cravings for opiates
That makes sense.
initially.
That makes sense.
And it goes through the roof. Then the avoidance of the crash, I'm getting them in detox. I can't contain them unless I can put them to sleep. If they have their mind going and they're awake, they're going to AWOL.
And this is the combo of opiate withdrawal with stimulant craving.
With stimulant craving.
That makes perfect sense.
I can't get them landed fast enough with.
Well, let me remind you of one such case everyone saw on Celebrity Rehab, Mr. Tom Sizemore. That's what that was. And if you remember, I put him to sleep for 2 days.
That's what we have
More
to
than
do.
2 days.
Yes.
More than 2 days.
Yeah,
So
but I put him
I'm
to sleep for a while.
Really
you had
struggling.
To do that.
And I
with
remember
that.
the TV production wasn't too happy because
he kept
wanted
sleeping.
him up.
Yeah, because he was asleep and they wanted him
Yeah, I
up,
know.
but we could have
No,
never
no.
contained him
No,
when
no,
he
no,
was
no.
awake.
He caused enough trouble in 2 weeks. We didn't need him a third week.
No, not really. But and then on top of this, okay, any predisposition for any kind of disorder,
Mental illness. Yeah.
mental illness, depression, anxiety,
Thought
any
disorders,
mood
yeah.
disorder,
Yeah.
thought disorder, anything is completely exacerbated
Yeah.
on the spot, super quickly. Now I have people acting like schizophrenics.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know what's wrong with them. The parents are completely confused. They're committing crimes. They're attracted to Skid Row. All they want to talk about in group is Skid Row and how great it is.
Oh.
I'm like, what?
See?
Even I wanted nothing to do
What
with
is
Skid
wrong?
Row.
What is wrong with
I was as close as Shelly came to Skid Row.
That's right.
I was going back and forth.
What is wrong
Skid
with
Row.
our
But we weren't
government?
even on Skid Row. We were off Skid Row.
I was on Bonnie Bray myself.
right, which was
Well, you
not
guys are-
Skid Row.
MacArthur Park was sort of
right,
yesterday.
which was not Skid Row
Yeah,
by
yeah.
a long shot.
Yeah.
Although, if you've been by MacArthur Park lately, it's sort of look like Skid Row.
Is it?
Well, that
Well, I'm not
homeless thing
surprised.
and that it's so sad. Because I
But
have to
that's the-
drive my kids around this town
But
and
the
and
LA
explain why
Times-
there's tents. Because you live in Mount Washington, right? That's where Elvis lives. Getting off here at Figueroa,
Yeah.
there's
Tents.
300 homeless people just milling about.
And not only that, the tents are there, and then they have little city dumps.
Yes.
They have little dumps developing, and rodents and insects and everything that goes with
This
that.
is my big problem.
Yep.
This is my big problem because so the homeless are attracting more people to go down there
To give them food.
They're giving
Yes,
them
that ends up being rat food.
right.
Yeah,
because
they don't
they're-
need food.
They don't need.
They
food.
believe the ruse that they need food, and
They
they're
don't need
help.
food.
No,
They don't want food. They don't need food. There's so much food in LA. There's so much food here.
yeah,
It's
I know.
ridiculous.
So you end up just creating a dump and a pile for rats and insects.
All right. So the actual cravings for meth
Yeah.
are so superseding the cravings for opiates.
Well, to be fair, it's not the stimulant craving. If anybody's ever been a nicotine addict, understands stimulant craving. It's a very similar
I'm going to have
craving
some
phenomenon.
Nicorette gum right now.
Right.
Okay, good idea. He's still addicted
Stimulant
to
is-
nicotine.
Stimulant is the worst craving, but
Okay.
but opiate withdrawal, people like to avoid that. So you got the craving and the withdrawal they want to avoid. So it's
Yes.
avoidance with craving.
With the craving,
Yeah.
which causes this person to be relatively untreatable. Now, if you add in psychotic symptoms,
Oh yeah.
I have.
Why can't people just doing what I did to Mr. Tom's?
Because it's a residential setting.
Oh.
Everybody's too scared.
I don't know
It takes a lot to
why
put
this out.
people
No, you do,
will not
Shelley.
use Zyprexa at every given moment,
Yeah,
but that's just me.
Or knock them out.
That's what I
had
mean.
I had a kid that was presenting as schizophrenic. After me being there for 2 hours, I figured out he smuggled meth in. Right? They were treating him like he's schizophrenic, needs to be put in UCLA psych hospital. I was like, no, we need to give him some
Zyprexa.
Ativan. Well, I wanted to give him Ativan.
Well, that's
All
that's
right,
what
whatever.
I use. Intramuscular Ativan. Intramuscular Ativan, provided they've been off the opiate long enough.
Because that's all they would do at UCLA anyway.
No.
What would they do at UCLA?
They'd give them Zyprexa.
Observe them.
Yeah, and
Give
observe
them
them. Put them in a
Zyprexa.
contained
The
environment.
kid thinking you're poisoning his food and you're working with the government and he's on the verge of violence and they're only going to give him Zyprexa.
In the emergency room, they'd probably give him Ativan.
They might use Risperidol. They might use things like
Yes.
that. They might use some Ativan. But
What about if he got violent in the response to come and get him, they're going to give him Ativan.
They're going to give him Ativan.
you guys, when he gets violent, that's going to be a police action.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's not anymore. They aren't even called.
Good.
There's so much
They shouldn't
violence. The EMTs are
So
dealing
I
with it.
want to
The
talk about
EMTs
the. But
are
what
dealing
about
with
the
it.
violence, you guys? Like, okay, I want
Violence,
this is what I want.
Okay.
I want all these police pursuits. I want drug test results.
While the
want
helicopters,
to know.
while the helicopters are,
I
are
want to
chasing them.
marry the.
You know that's all
the
meth, right?
insane
That-
violence.
but the-
all meth.
Yeah.
Car chases.
Yeah,
I
all
want
meth.
people to know what
To start to see the whole picture.
reason
Yeah.
for this.
Yes.
Because this is insane.
I agree.
We are looking at a drug epidemic.
Yep.
And we are like publicizing it as if it's a car chase.
Car chase, silly people, high real estate prices.
Right.
That's our narrative.
Like, what are we talking about?
Listen, I am 100%
I
with
mean, I
you.
can't stand it anymore. If I see one more shirtless dude
You know what?
that doesn't have any shoes on come out of one of the coming out of one of these vehicles
You
that
don't
they've
hear that
been on a
word
high
anymore.
speed.
Yeah, I know. They're always tweaking.
They're always tweaking, like guys.
Do people not know that word anymore? You don't hear it that much anymore.
No,
Like
you
that,
don't.
that's a pejorative word. That's a negative word.
Listen,
no,
we're-
that's what it's like. That's a perfect description
Yeah.
of what being out of your mind on meth is.
You're
You
not
are
allowed
You're
tweaking.
out of your mind.
It's pejorative to say addict now.
Yes.
Right? You can't say
Yeah.
drug
No, you
addict.
can't
That's
say
so
drug addict.
crazy.
So-
but I need you on KBC on the radio show that I do because Los Angeles, we need to get to Los Angeles and San Francisco and
We have to.
and make them listen.
We'll
do that.
I
I'll
need
put you on the
drug-
phone and we'll
I
do
would
it.
need drug results. Okay,
I'm not sure we're gonna
Because
get that,
We
but-
need to marry
Yeah.
these things, these events that are happening chronically every single day,
Yeah.
with the real underlying reason
Yeah.
to get people's attention. That like, if your kid is using meth, you need to do something like
Immediately.
pronto.
Yeah. Yep.
Right away.
Yeah.
Then I also want to know, okay, here's the paranoia difference between a cocaine addict who's been up, a meth addict who's been up, and
I
a
can-
schizophrenic.
The schizophrenic can look like the meth addict. They get very close. But
No, they don't.
well, hold on. Let's go. So the cocaine addict, we're really talking smoking cocaine. When you
Smoking
smoke
cocaine.
cocaine, you are
or shoot cocaine.
or shoot cocaine. You are by yourself. You
Yes.
have put foil on your windows,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look out the window, you are seeing uniformed
Cops.
officers,
Yes.
cops,
Cops.
But what was-
SWAT.
SWAT,
Remember
cops.
the gal?
But I've even heard Navy.
Remember
and,
the gal? And she passed away. That I wrote Trust Fund Girl about.
Don't
No.
remember.
I used to smoke coke with her, and she
Right.
always thought police officers were outside.
well, that's cocaine,
Yeah,
right?
that's
cocaine.
just
Yeah,
cocaine.
that's cocaine.
Yeah.
So, all right. So then now
So
meth.
that's the psychosis.
Meth is a much more pernicious, slow
You're
onset.
putting poison in my food.
No.
You're trying
Hold
to
on.
kill me.
Hold on. Very bizarre. It's usually really bizarre. Like
Very bizarre.
Yeah, like the
but it's
Russian mafia.
always family.
Family, friends,
Neighbors,
coworkers,
coworkers.
neighbors.
Always.
Yeah, always.
No,
Always.
they're in
No,
the
and-
rehabs now. It's the rehab.
So hold
And
on.
the rehabs, yeah. Anything that they're
anything
familiar with.
Anything nearby.
The rehabs,
Very
Drew,
familiar.
you got to
Yeah.
understand. We have replaced families. They've been living with us for 8
All right.
years.
So hold on. And,
Right?
and-
That's a different
Off and
subject.
on.
Hold on,
Off
hold
and
on.
on for 8
No, I
years.
have tons to say about
okay,
that.
but the meth psychosis slow to resolve, take months sometimes.
Very slow to resolve.
Yeah, and bizarre.
If at all.
Usually 2 months, it's gone. And usually
6
2 weeks is a lot
months.
better. Well, okay, but it's disruptive to relationships because it's all the people they're close to that
Right.
they are paranoid about.
Exactly.
The-
And why they're killing their family members.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Meth is the drug of
that's why
violence.
I want
Yep.
that also to be brought to light
Yep.
in all of these strange, like, husband murders wife and
Yep.
child.
Yep.
This happened, murdered the coworkers. What's going on?
Okay.
You'll love this. So
What's
I
going on?
So I detoxed a 45-year-old lifetime meth addict
Yeah.
at my sober living in Beechwood by myself, just me and him, right?
Yeah.
With a doctor helping.
Interesting.
The doctor helping. And he would sometimes, and this is not week 2, this is month 2. He would
Sure.
come and knock on my door because I lived there too, and he would say, "Bob, I'm not on celebrity rehab right now, right? There's no television cameras here.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not taking advantage of me. You're not embarrassing me,
Right,
right?
right.
And I would say, dude, I love you. Come here. No, I would
Yeah.
never do that to you.
Yeah.
I wasn't telling him you're crazy for thinking that.
Right.
I just reassured
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And that was consistently the thing that he was on celebrity rehab.
Right.
Okay, well, that's his
because
thing.
the familiarity between you
Well,
and
the
celebrity
cameras
rehab,
and blah blah blah.
100%.
So now schizophrenics, it's usually more subtle, more grandiose.
much more grandiose.
I am,
I
I'm
am something.
Jesus, I'm
No,
Jesus.
we can go all the way there, but it's all often. Hey man, I got a record deal,
Yes.
and they're just waiting for
Yes.
me over here, and it's usually kind of even makes sense sometimes, unless you
Sometimes,
really
yeah.
listen to it. You're like, oh no, and it gets weirder and weirder and more grandiose. And what you miss is, and oh by the way, I'm on the street and I can't take care of myself. That just gets completely overlooked.
Yeah, because
So-
the grandiosity is there.
Yeah.
And usually the paranoia is more government, more...
It's more characteristic of schizophrenia.
Yes.
They're beaming thoughts into my head. The television
there's
is
a
talking to
chip.
me.
I was
There's a
abducted
chip.
by aliens
Right,
when I was
that's right.
younger.
That's
There
right.
is an overdiagnosis of schizophrenia in drug addicts by
Yes.
really not very good psychiatrists.
Well, they have
Is
to.
that a nice way of saying it?
Well, I think because doctors don't ever see the arc of recovery anymore. They
Right.
don't even wait to see what the diagnosis is. Sometimes you can't tell, and you got to wait and see.
You have
And if
to
they-
wait and see.
Yeah, if they clear and they have no history and they're 35 and they've been smoking meth, it's
Guess
like,
what?
okay, that's
It's
meth.
meth.
Yeah.
It's meth.
So-
if it's 18 and there's a family history
There
of an
you go.
uncle,
Yeah.
then
That
there
it's
is a possibility.
Yeah,
here.
real
Well,
possibility.
yeah, they need to see this guy that I was hugging. He's now going to work at Aloe. He's amazing.
Right.
Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
He has a deep, rich experience and understanding and compassion for addicts.
Oh my gosh.
It's like it's been a year and a half now, right?
And what I keep screaming at, Shelly, also, people go, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do with all this addiction? Why can't we at least promote 12-step as a
I'm bringing it back.
free, a
She's
bringing it
bringing
back.
it back. If
I'm bringing
anybody
it
can
back.
bring it back,
I'm
she can
bringing
bring
it
it back.
You understand? It's free and it works.
Right.
That's all I need. That's all you need to know.
And so you just have to, when I was talking to one of the therapists yesterday, I said, because she's been in the field now a little while, and she's like, why don't we do more 12-step stuff? Like, why don't we talk about it more? And I said, well, one of the reasons is that when you introduce it, you're going to get a lot of feedback.
And pushback.
And pushback and a lot of factual stuff they're going to try to throw at you.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the experience of what it is really,
Yeah.
then you might get lost in that.
Not only
You
that,
have to be very strong when you present
Yes.
the information
And-
and know what it is.
and to be fair, part of what's missing is the community endorsement. By community, I mean nationwide endorsement. The reason we were able to do it in the hospital the three of us worked at
Right.
is everybody had the same message. Go to
Right.
the meetings.
You gotta go to
Show
the
up. You
meetings,
got to go. It's fine.
But I do
know
have
you
to
don't like it.
say,
Just show up. Blah, blah, blah.
Insurance companies are pushing 12-step
Good.
sponsors
Good.
and meetings.
Yeah,
Good to
I
hear.
So I
noticed
just
that the
have to
last
say, like,
year
they
or
are.
so. Last year or so, they want to see that back in the
All right. Well,
documentation.
I'm
Absolutely.
saying we need to educate the public about this. and make it a law. The government wants to do something. There's something nice and free they can do right there. Just get behind it, endorse it, acknowledge that there are issues philosophically you may not like, but just get in there. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
Get in there.
Yeah, it's a lot
get in the
of
rooms.
who cares, and you'll figure it out when you figure it out.
Yeah, you'll figure out what works for you.
But that's how I got sober. But there has to be what's going to happen if you don't. And right now, we don't have a lot of
consequence,
consequence, right?
It's true.
Because we've decided we don't want to put drug addicts in jail, so we can't threaten to put them in jail. That's how I got sober. The judge said, you're going to go to prison. You go to AA.
That worked for a lot of you guys, I think.
It worked a lot. It worked really good, and it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm not sure we can afford that
now,
anymore.
but watch. But now, and this isn't about rehab in general. Shelly and I both work at rehabs that I push it. It's part of the thing. I share my experience, strength, and hope every time I talk. But it's not mandatory
12 steps.
because you won't have any clients. They'll go to the place who says it's not mandatory.
Okay.
I prefer to say it's not mandatory and talk about it in interesting ways and life-sharing ways. It's not free. Rehab costs money.
No, 12-step is free.
Yeah, but
free.
But they're never going to go to it.
Well,
the courts aren't going to send them to it.
Well, to be fair,
the parents don't believe in it, right? Parents don't believe in it. The courts aren't going to send you to it. So rehab is the only place you're going to be introduced to it. And if rehabs don't introduce you to it, you're never going to be exposed to it.
True.
So I'm very
But I'm saying maybe the government or maybe the facing addiction people or somebody needs to get behind a giant campaign to endorse this.
Do that. And we also, I think what we need to do is we need to be less afraid of what people are going to think about our recommendations. And I am like living proof with 100 other people that have well over 15 to 25 years sober that were just as bad as any of these people that we're seeing. And I
think we have
proof.
some fundamentals they don't have.
But what are the fundamentals? Let's sort it out. Let's figure it out. Let's
you've been
put it on paper.
self-supporting and taking care of yourself since you were 16 years old.
Yeah.
So that was
Drew, it's not the economy. You're when the last episode that we talked about, you blame the economy. I don't.
You blame
I
the
know
parents
there's you got to work hard.
The dependency created by the parents.
It's this whiny, snivelly excuses for everybody. There's no excuse.
Yeah. I mean, I do promote a certain level of self-effacement. Like, you know, nobody, and how I present it is that, listen, nobody's going to care about your drug addiction but other drug addicts. So you need to be around other drug addicts because nobody cares that you have destroyed your life using crack cocaine.
Other drug addicts will care.
But you know
they
who
are
care?
the only ones that
care.
care.
You know who care? They're bullshit codependent parents who cannot tolerate their child suffering. Right?
Hang on. Facebook is asking us for something here.
Okay.
Hold on.
They want us to answer questions.
Oh,
okay, let's
is that what they
answer
want?
questions.
All right, but
okay,
Shelly, you said you had a whole thing about the family of rehab.
Yes, the family of rehab and how we become the dysfunctional family.
Yes, we are.
And we become the dysfunctional family within the milieu, and then I become the principal or the school marm or the nun or whatever they want to put me in. And then
the shark.
Like, no, it's not even that exciting now because I'm administrative. So now I'm just like walking around with some badge or something. They're like, who is this person?
Sheriff.
We just want to stay away from her, whatever that is.
But it's so you understand that's how I conceptualized our team at Las Encinas.
Right.
A healthy family.
Okay.
That's how, and we all had. That's why I asked about Sasha a few minutes ago. I mean, we all got along great. We all understood each other. I
think at our place in Malibu, at her place in Sunset, Sepulveda. I hate saying Bel Air. Sepulveda and Sunset. I mean, is that the height of arrogance, Bel Air?
It's all right. It's what it's called. It's a name.
I don't know.
It is silly, but whatever.
But so there are functional families there, right? Because Josh and Paul are there, where they were when I was going by there all the time. The staff is great. The techs are great, right? Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying in the dysfunctional family, Drew, I'm talking about the family of rehab.
Yeah.
That will take somebody who just left Shelly's rehab yesterday because they didn't
and
like
let
it.
Them split.
And let them split and then cause
and
that's
foster
the split.
splitting. foster dysfunction, foster them running avoidance, foster
align with the
all
client.
of the
Yeah,
stuff.
they're shitty. They don't know what they're doing.
You can't do that.
Yeah, they do it all the time.
all day.
All day long.
All day.
I've had clients walk out when I told them, dude, no phone, no nothing.
Yeah.
You know, they did egregious violation, right?
Yeah.
They say, fuck you, I'll just walk to Cliffside.
Oh,
And I'm like,
yeah, I'll walk
Cliffside
to
is walkable
Cliffside.
from my
Yeah.
rehab.
Or-
Another rehab. And they'll accept them.
Yes. They will not say, well, what rehab did you... If I start asking questions, they get really defended.
Yeah.
You know, because they're up to shenanigans. And also other treatment centers, dare I say this?
Recruit.
Yeah.
Recruit
They
from?
actually recruit from. Yes.
Drew, you don't know.
This is why I'm outside.
Drew, you don't
You're
know.
coming back in with us.
Come on,
You're going to get
Drew.
back into it with us.
Can you
so we're
just
gonna straighten it out.
consult?
Yes, I can consult, but it's still I.
No.
What-
Sure.
Yeah, she doesn't want me back into it anymore. Yeah, she was there when I was doing
Okay,
it for all those
so-
years.
All right.
But
Dr. Drew,
No. She's
Dr.
like,
Drew
no.
Centers of America.
Here's the
No.
question. Here's the question.
all right,
Okay.
Go.
Bernadette. Hey, Bernadette.
Hello.
what you want to know?
Do you taper clients with
Suboxone.
buprenorphine
No.
or other
Buprenorphine.
comfort meds?
Yes. Yes,
Do you
I
recommend
do.
drug long? Let me finish the goddamn question.
See how it is.
Do you recommend long-term buprenorphine
Norphine.
treatment?
Suboxone. That's Suboxone.
Is it?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
okay.
Subutex.
It's the same thing.
Shelley, you
Okay,
answer
explain that though, because I
Go
don't know.
ahead. Shelley
Okay.
will explain it and give her answer.
Okay, so.
Let me
There-
before you do. Let me just
Okay.
say.
Okay, let's
that
just
just
say.
in this question,
Yes.
embedded in that question is
Right.
the notion that opioid withdrawal is intolerable.
I know.
Did I ever, in all the years we were together, say,
No, you did
God,
not.
what are we going to do to get somebody off heroin? I can't seem to get anybody off heroin. It never was an issue. It never was a problem. Everybody was off in 3 to 5 days,
Say
and
the
I
thing-
never wished I had
Tell
something more.
tell Bernadette right now. No one has ever died of heroin withdrawal.
Well, you can have a complication, have a heart attack, or like Jerry Garcia did, or something. But the opioid withdrawal itself is manageable in good hands. It's 3 to 5 days. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's not that big a deal. It's unpleasant. It's like having the flu for 3 days.
The industry standard
Yeah. So go ahead.
that we have to compete
yes,
with
we
is an
that
easier, kinder, softer.
We have
Yes.
to give medicine, right?
yeah.
As to taper, to smooth out the symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
and make their stay tolerable.
Okay, but then what happens is
Yes.
they get down around.
almost pleasant.
They get-
Tolerable, almost pleasant.
But they get down around 8 milligrams or 4 milligrams. They start having withdrawal. And the doctor
Craving.
goes, just stay on this. Just stay on
Some
this.
do, but not so
Some
much
do.
anymore. But here's the
But
thing. But
it's
what
going,
she's
that's
saying.
going out of style.
Oh,
I
good.
got to tell you.
Oh,
I
good.
got to
but
tell
that,
you.
that's
but
good.
get back
doctors-
to the original
Okay,
point.
don't step on Shelley.
Get,
Yeah, let her
get
talk.
back to the original
Uh-huh.
point, though. They are not suffering opiate withdrawals.
Okay.
Because of Suboxone.
Okay,
So then the
so fine.
meth craving is still there.
Yeah.
It never went away.
No, and it's
And
very
you can't
high.
use the Ativan with the Suboxone. You can't
But we're
do that.
always now this is what we're doing, and so this to Bernadette's question is that we will use it very sparingly. I
Okay.
will never start somebody at a 24, 16. No, they're coming in. They're going to taper very quickly because I need to observe them for 3 days after their last dose
Yeah,
because
we've
that's
seen
when
you.
they're going to have withdrawal symptoms.
And they vomit all over you and stuff like
Yes. So I need to keep them in residential to observe them afterwards.
that. You have such a fun job.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
Here's a question.
But-
There's a guy
wait
from
a second, though.
Matthew said his best friend died on Suboxone. So, you know.
But let me ask you too. So often, we got a pretty good doctor, the
Okay,
internal medicine doctor, right?
Good.
Even if you're on 24,
Yeah.
she'll just start you at 8 and see
Yeah,
what happens.
exactly.
She doesn't titrate from 24 down like these other
No,
assholes.
because the real
All
withdrawal
you
starts.
need is 8.
Yeah, the real withdrawal starts below 8. That's where the real withdrawal
Exactly.
kicks in.
Yeah,
So
so if somebody
we
comes
don't do
in and
any
they
of
say
that
they're on
nonsense.
24 milligrams, everybody goes,
No.
oh my God, oh my God.
No, just kick 'em
you
down.
just give them 8
Yeah.
upon admission and see what happens, like Shelley said, for 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, the real withdrawal kicks in later. At
Exactly.
4.
So so it's 4,
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
There's nothing to worry about under those circumstances.
Well, you got
Good
7
note.
million Americans on maintenance, so there's obviously something to worry about.
Can I do another quick question?
Yes, please.
Okay, what is it? This is from Sarah. What exactly is it about 12 steps that's so helpful? I'm genuinely interested to know. I've been alcohol-free for 14 months and I'm thriving, but keep hearing from Dr. Drew that I still need to do 12 steps.
Well, there's several
People.
things. Well, one thing is the the support of a fellowship. You need that. You need to see the disease in all its manifestations. You need to be reminded of the spectrum of what can happen. But most importantly, the 12-step is a guided relationship in an intimate encounter with somebody who struggles with the same condition. And that changes how you regulate your emotions. And unless you change how you regulate your emotions, your alcoholism is still at risk. Whatever caused you to drink in the first place is still there, and you may drive you back. In addition to now you've got the disease active that's driving you back as well. Now, if you're in therapy or something, okay. I mean, that's probably okay.
But you need
But that's a
community
little
too.
bit of a different relationship.
It's a
I've
different
studied the
relationship.
ones that have gotten sober in therapy, right?
Yeah.
They have gregarious workplaces. They have large families.
They have other
They
sup-
have great
Yes,
relationships
that's
with
right.
their parents. There's a whole. Most addicts, it says, I believe Shelly and I suffer from a disease of isolation and loneliness.
Yes, yes.
So
That's true.
So you need people, and
Yep.
dysfunctional
That's right.
families and alcoholic family systems don't give that.
That's right. Absolutely,
So
100%.
you're going to have to go outside.
Yes.
And when you get sober, all those people, and I believe most of my friends who were using when I got sober are my dear friends, and they do love me. But I couldn't hang out with them. I
Yes.
couldn't get my soul fed by them
Right.
because there was this complete disconnect.
Yes, you need,
Well,
you
none
need
of
to
us
be...
need
had much
people.
to give at that
And
point.
you spoke to this very
You
vividly
got sober
last time.
before me, didn't you? Or
Yeah.
after me? Before me.
If you listen to Shelly's last appearance, what's her name, Susan?
I'm sorry.
The woman who's asking the question, what is
Hold
her
on, let
name?
me scroll up.
Well, Shelly's last appearance, Shelly spoke vividly about the relationship
Ivy.
elements in Ivy.
Sarah
Yeah.
Ivy.
Oh, Sarah
Evie.
Ivy. The
Evie Ivy.
relationship elements in recovery are extremely important.
Even friendships, Maureen,
And
still
you
to
really
me,
learn.
Maureen.
Yeah, Maureen.
Yeah.
You know,
This
you
woman
still-
was like the real sister I never had, right? She confided in me all the things that brothers and sisters confide in. Like, and when Elijah ran away, when my oldest son ran away at 15, to 14, the first time, he ran to her house. And then she called me, she goes, "Are you missing Elijah right now?" And I was like,
You missing a kid?
Yeah.
and she goes, "I don't want to, snitch him out, but he's over here." And I was like, I said, "Okay, just keep him there." And then I had DH, who lived in the same building, another 12-step guy, go over and get him and say, "Hey, what's going on?" Then take him out to eat and get him back
community.
home.
It's a real community.
Community.
There are no communities in America anymore.
There are. They're just not. They're not conducive to what we need.
They
are,
are, and
but
they're not
they
very
don't-
intimate.
they don't-
I believe people are living in echo chambers in isolation at a laptop.
As that Bowling Alone book said, the clubs and sort of organizations are waning dramatically in this country. We don't have that kind of thing. But we got to take a little break.
All right.
We'll be right back.
Bam.
Friends at Bergamat are back. It's, of course, a brand that's made an impact on us here. It makes a variety of supplements. They use the extract of the bergamot citrus fruit. It's full of polyphenols. It's a supplement that acts as a natural statin and may improve a number of cardiovascular conditions and fatty liver disease, as well as potentially high blood pressure and other things associated with the metabolic syndrome. Now the makers are bringing you a formulation called Bergamat Sport that provides all the same cardiovascular benefits, but with some additives designed to aid athletes and those with an active lifestyle. Bergamat Sport may help improve stamina as well as reduce recovery time and muscle inflammation. In an ongoing study, professional soccer players were asked to use Bergamat Sport, and the documented improvements have been impressive. I use the product. First Lady of Loves uses the product, the Bergamat Femme. Physicians and cardiologists around the world are recommending it. For a limited time, our listeners can save 10% on their order by entering the code DRDREW at checkout. That's Dr. Drew at checkout, all one word. To try Bergamat Sport for yourself, visit bergamet.com. That is BERGAMET.com. Or also you can click on the Bergamat banner at drdrew.com. Be sure to talk to your physician before you use any Bergamat products. In fact, before you use any product or supplement, be sure to talk to your doctor. Okay, we're back.
We're back.
Do I need to remind everybody about this? Or, yes, our friends at Bergamat Sport. That's right, Bergamat is back. Hydrolite is here as well. Don't forget those guys.
I'm hoping to get sick
So you can
because
use
I
it?
have super good health insurance now, Shelly. It started February 1st.
Gosh.
I get premium. I get limo drives
Yeah,
me
like,
to the
what do
hospital.
you have?
I don't think so. You get the
Uh-huh.
What do you have? And I'll tell you if you really have a limo service.
Okay.
I have the top Blue Shield.
Guys are almost killed me because they misdiagnosed an ectopic pregnancy.
Wow.
What? See?
Well, you were all
This was years ago. This was years and years
you were
ago.
also misdiagnosed as what when you had the Xanax withdrawal?
I've been misdiagnosed. So
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia, right?
No, not schizophrenia.
That's a
like,
bummer.
this is
Mania.
how rumors get
Mania.
started.
What were you
This is how
diagnosed as
rumors-
when you were actually having Xanax withdrawal?
Bipolar 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
mania.
bipolar.
Bipolar 2. Well, I mean, I gotta say, it wasn't the picture of mental health.
What's a picture of mental health?
What she's saying is
Really?
she was complicated,
I
Bob.
was very complicated.
she
I
had
was
some
not
issues.
doing well. I had a lot of symptoms. Wasn't great.
Where were you at that point? That Xanax thing.
Well,
You weren't at
I
Ingleside
was-
by
I
some
was
chance, were you?
very, No.
Yeah.
No, I was at Thalians.
Oh wow.
Oh, that was
Cedars.
a pretty good place except for the toilets.
Yeah, it wasn't
I
bad.
was in there a couple times.
For the toilets.
St. Thalians.
Well, bathrooms.
It's the Cedars. stuff.
Cedars. I mean, they used to have a great outpatient mental health clinic.
they
I
did.
mean, they really
Yes,
did.
they did.
And that's what I think that was the really key to me getting involved with like the mental illness and
Mm-hmm.
like sorting all of that stuff out is that they enrolled me in that program that was so great. It was like a sliding scale. You saw people regularly and they really cared. And I
was
think
in that
that
building?
even though
It
I
was in
had
that
to,
building?
yeah, I was in the building.
But as always with mental health treatment, the one bit
You know
of-
it's gone now. What
I know,
she's
Yes.
saying
I
saved
know.
her is gone.
But let me tell you something. That there's all this psychological and psychiatric research out there about differing techniques of intervention for psychotherapeutics, or whether it's DBT or CBT or whatever it is.
I'm all down with seeking safety right now.
Okay. Well, it turns out whatever technique you use, has minimal impact as compared to the therapists themselves. In other words,
Right. Who it is.
and their empathic style, their ability
course.
to connect. So,
Sure.
so your ability to be empathic is vastly more important than what technique you're using to treat somebody.
I know.
So my point's going to be that isn't it amazing how, and it shouldn't amaze us, but isn't it interesting how much the quality of any given treatment program is really, strictly speaking, dependent on the quality of the staff. Thalians
Yes.
had a great staff for about 15 years.
They did.
Yeah, and maybe 10 years. They were really good for a while there.
Good
And
nurses.
just people that gave a shit and knew what they were doing. It's about all it boils down to.
Well, here,
Right.
let's,
And you
I don't
kinda
know,
get
because
lucky.
none of
Yeah.
us have been in that situation for years. I was in Thalians twice on a hold. I was at CPC Westwood on 10-day hold. The nurses were so great and funny, and they interacted
Yes.
with you, and they...
Why-
I just
why do you
remember
think-
the nurses.
Why do you think
right?
Sasha was such a key
But
part of
I
our
don't
team?
think there's nurses like that anymore in
They're
those
hard to
places.
find. They're harder to find. We used to have a whole ton about Las Encinas. It used to be mostly that was there. I used to hang out and just BS with them because they were so interesting. They were interesting people.
Well, I have to start utilizing people who are more medical savvy now in my detox unit because
nursing, you mean, or
just in
Everybody.
general as techs, like
Yeah.
they need to be more savvy with medical stuff. And I need medical assistants that are techs. I need mental health workers that they used to have at Las Encinas who knew how to do vitals and knew how to de-escalate.
one good
people.
nurse would do a trick.
Yeah, I
can
have a
afford
great
that.
nurse.
Okay, good.
I have one great nurse,
Yeah.
but I have 3 shifts.
One shift.
Oh, okay.
One
Oh,
shift.
jeez.
So
Oh, man.
yeah, I got 3 shifts. So I really need people to learn de-escalation techniques. And I don't know how you can teach a lot of de-escalation
Wait, I'm just
stuff.
thinking
because
about
it
that.
really-
You were there.
Yeah.
We
You used to
only-
take those
did
classes,
we only have
remember?
2
Yes.
shifts?
No, we had 3.
Because Sasha and Grace,
No.
who was the third one?
Overnight.
Overnight.
They're overnight people.
Yeah.
Who were they?
You never met them
I never
because
met
you
them.
never saw them.
Were they good?
We had some issues.
We had
issues.
some major issues
I
because
only
they were
remember
asleep.
2 nurses.
Well, Sasha and Grace were our key. They were our
Right.
key
And so you
people.
have the great
so
nurses
somebody
during
came
the
on
day.
at 11 o'clock at night till
to
7 in the
7.
morning.
And sometimes they were
All right.
good, and sometimes they were not.
Yes,
So-
exactly.
And that's the problem.
But staying awake is really important.
Yes,
I
that is
find.
important.
Oh, the text.
I find it's very
Yeah.
important.
It was the
Stay
text
awake.
that were really the problem.
You know, they've come up
Yes.
with this thing, Drew, where you have to, the text, like Aloe, probably your thing too, they have to go around to this computer chip every hour so that you know they're actually up and walking. Do you know that?
No, it's interesting.
Do you have that?
No, what we
It's
have
on their badge, and they have to
Right.
go to that room and check that room.
Good.
No, that's great. I think that's great.
It only costs like $3,600.
What we have is, I will look into that for the next rehab. But what we have is we have cameras
Oh.
So
Can you look at them from home on your phone?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
yeah, I can.
Shelly would be looking.
Yeah. So
Watch
they
out,
know.
everybody.
So they know that I can see the text and what they're doing any hour, and I can talk to them
Oh,
if
wow.
I see fit.
Through your phone?
Big Brother.
You are the queen.
So it'd be cool. Just so random reinforcement is you would just drop in once in a while and start talking.
Right.
Hey, how's it going on there?
Yeah, you don't have to drive there like we used to have to. You just go, hey, what's
Exactly.
going on?
Oh, that's awesome.
Exactly. So you can
God,
can
I'm
take
surprised
a
you
look.
remember all that. For me, it's like, I was supposed to getting up and doing it.
I remember it.
Oh,
No, when
It's a
when-
nightmare.
When what's her
Oh,
name?
it's such a
when
nightmare.
Linda Parks took over, she insisted that we go like once a month to the unit
Yeah.
at 2:00 in the morning,
Right.
at 3:00 in the morning. I was
Just
like,
like-
the fuck is that?
So you get paid the big bucks for. Come on.
Do you know the story when
Yeah.
Shelly caught me? So once I became exempt,
exempt.
meaning I didn't have to clock in and out,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I would check in with her because she's the best, and
Yeah.
Luisha and Sasha
Yeah.
at like 9
Yeah.
via text
At
a lot of times. No, PM.
There was
AM.
Oh, AM.
And then I would come because I did.
You knew to text back then?
I did text, and
Not
I
Blackberries.
and
We
I
had
did,
Blackberries then.
and I
Lot of
did
Blackberries.
only the
I did
2:00
too.
group. So I would come in like at 10 in the beginning. Sometimes when I knew Blum was coming, I would be there when Blum got there, right? But then I started getting there even later.
Later.
Like 11. And I pulled in one time and Shelly was walking from somewhere with her clipboard. And she
Yeah.
goes, are you just getting here right now? And I was like, no, I went to eat.
Yeah, I went to eat. No.
Shelly didn't need a camera.
No.
She just saw me driving in. Like, are you
Where
just
have
getting
you
here now at
been?
11 a.m.?
What? Must be nice. Must be nice.
But I was there most every time with Barry. Most
Yeah.
every time.
Barry was great. I learned
I
so
don't want
much
to hear
from him.
this. You learned what?
I learned so much from Barry.
I know, right?
But I
God, I
stayed
learned
till
so much from him.
Okay,
8.
read an email.
Okay,
another
let's
email,
do
yeah.
that.
We got emails here, too.
And
Oh,
so,
yeah.
and they want to know if what kind of underwear the president wears now.
The president?
The questions are going
Tidy
downhill.
whities.
Okay, let
I
me do
think.
something here. Here you go. Could
According
you
to,
elaborate? Here's something to talk about. More on the difference between people who are opiate dependent versus opiate addicted.
Mm-hmm.
We sort of made that distinction.
No,
Yes.
I've been talking about that. I talked about it yesterday.
Yeah, and there's probably a Venn
There's
diagram.
millions,
But there's
there is millions of people that don't have the drug addict
full blown.
trauma history. They
Yeah.
have intact family. Unless,
Oh my God! Did you
unless
see the doctor writing a
codependency-
defense of what Tom Petty was given, saying literally in this article says, "Let's face it, drugs don't cause drug addiction. Trauma does." And it was like, oh my God!
But he had, he
My
had,
dog just
but he
jumped
had
up.
self-admitted drug addiction.
But the drugs themselves are nothing to do with the drug addiction.
Oh my.
Those aren't the problem. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
trauma that motivates the overuse of the drugs. Yeah. A doctor wrote a long disquisition. All these people are like, oh, yes, well, this guy's
Oh
enlightened.
yes, he knows what he's talking about.
And she runs a gigantic
Anything.
series of drug treatment centers in the East. Big ones.
So, anyways, we can talk about what I've seen. I've seen a lot of kids that I don't know that they're real drug addicts, but they
Right.
certainly
They
start
look
to
like it at
take
first.
on the
Yeah.
personality of a drug addict.
Yeah.
But when you take their history, parents are married still, no sexual abuse, no physical abuse. So then this gets into what are you looking for? Well, boundaryless enmeshment. Are these trauma
Yeah.
signifiers?
Those are kind of trauma issues. But
they love it. I have so many clients, I don't know, they'll tell you their parents are their best friend.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Wrong.
my parents are very supportive. I'm like, supportive of what exactly?
Because you're a loser? What
yeah,
are they
what are
supportive
they
of?
supportive of?
they made you dependent, and that's a certain kind of trauma.
It is a certain kind of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also one thing that I've noticed in the practice lately is that there's so much covert trauma. There's so much covert
Mm-hmm. Well,
stuff going on.
dependencies are all covert stuff.
It's
yeah.
all so
Yeah,
covert.
yeah.
So the
Describe to people
overt
what you mean by
isn't
that.
there.
What do you mean by covert?
The covert is the underlying parental position.
So, in other words, like covert sexual abuse would be the.
I'm a sex addict.
Well, I'm a sex addict, but my husband's gone for some reason.
Right.
And you're now my little man.
Right.
You're the man at the house. You're my
Right.
little man. You're my
It's-
it's
yeah,
a
it's-
grooming. It's a covert grooming.
It's a covert,
Yeah.
and it's like the surrogate spouse,
Yeah,
or
surrogate
the
spouse is covert sexual
yeah.
abuse.
So it's the surrogate spouse or the surrogate
best friend.
It's the surrogate parent, and these covert
But they don't
actions.
they don't seem to have discomfort from it or reject that. When you're
they
abused,
don't recognize
neglected,
it.
and realize that you were abused and neglected, you get angry about it.
It's harder.
They're
But the
not
covert
angry.
stuff isn't that
They're
way.
not angry.
The covert
different.
stuff is coming from the parental dysfunction, unconscious, underneath their own consciousness.
That's right. So you
they
have
don't
to
know that they're abusing people. They don't know that they're being abusive. They
exactly
think they're
right.
being
I
caring.
don't think abusive is the right word that they would hear. I don't
Right,
think
you
that
can't
can
use that
go
word.
in
No,
their
they
brain.
can't.
No, you can't use that word.
No.
But so there's what doesn't happen is the separation. So you have to engage them in a rapprochement of coming and going with you as the secure base.
Exactly.
And that takes a long time.
It takes a very long time. And the covert abuse comes up much later in the therapeutic process
that's true.
because they can't even recognize covert.
Well, because the self isn't fully
It's not
there.
developed.
It's not there yet. So it has to
Exactly.
emerge to be able to step out and go, oh, what was that?
Those kind-
And you have to even create sometimes a level of self that they can even recognize
I
because
think-
they're so enmeshed.
I think you're doing this is the kind of stuff you've been talking about the last couple of times you and I have spoken and been on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I think Bob is still very frustrated with this kind of stuff. He does not like it.
Here's what I think. They're not going to stop because they're told that that's loving your child. The whole society does that. I see it. I'm at this Mount Washington school.
Yeah.
It's wrong what's going on in parenting in America. And no one is saying it's wrong.
Then describe what you mean so people can look at their own stuff.
Like Elvis had some Christmas recital. Like, who the fuck cares? It's like the 19th one I've been to.
Yeah.
Every father took off work. Every mother took off work. If you weren't there in that room, you're not a good parent. In a social kind of ostracized, and if somebody wasn't there, I watched gals and guys ask where that other parent was. Working. Who fucking cares? They're singing a Peanuts song.
But it's crazy that the
And they all videotape it with iPads too.
the other part of the
For what reason?
the
Are
other-
you going to really watch that?
the other end though.
performances are an issue. I don't think I get what you're saying, but I don't think that's the representation that I'm talking about.
No, this is parents not being parents. So I'll give you the example. Who did we do recitals to? You're a little younger. Who was in the room when you had a recital? The other students.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's who was in the recitals that I sang in. Parents maybe at a nighttime
but to
one
be fair,
that was a one-time
well, I was going to
big
say
event.
You do them once a year or something.
Yeah,
That's sort
one
of a
time.
holiday
This
thing,
is every
whatever.
month or every 2 months. There's
Well,
like
I mean,
some.
my daughter performs. She's a performer, and I go to one of the shows. I can't go to all of them,
Right.
But I go to one of them,
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I go to the one on Saturday, right? But I can't go to all of them. But now she's got a lead role, so I'm going to try to go to all of them. Is that what you're talking about?
No, she's a performer and you're
Right.
supporting her as an artist. I'm
Right.
talking about just basic
Okay,
elementary
just like-
school
okay,
bullshit.
gotcha.
And all parents are there all the time.
Okay,
Opening
right.
day of kindergarten, there wasn't enough room in the kindergarten class
For all
because
the
there
parents.
was 22 kids and 8,
What's
44
weird, Bob,
parents.
What's weird is on the other end, though, the schools complain the parents aren't involved enough. So either not
I
involved
don't
enough
hear
or too much. One or the
I
other.
don't hear any school person that I've dealt with at Wonderland, Mount Washington,
Think of the-
neighborhood schools saying parents aren't involved
think of the
enough.
schools- But
Nobody's
look at the
saying
schools
that.
Look at the
you're
schools,
talking
dude.
about.
Look at the schools you're talking about. High end.
Yes. The people you're talking about are
Is there
people who
a
can
lack of volunteers
afford-
at your school? You know, she's
Yes.
the leader of a charter school.
No, I was a founding parent. Yes, there was a lack of people to show up.
Yeah, you're
Sure.
talking about rarefied air, Bob.
These
That's
guys have
that's
they
white
can't
privilege
take off
problems.
work.
I'm not
I
kidding.
couldn't
That's
take
the
off
second
work.
time. That's the second time today he
Ooh,
said I'm
see?
white privileged.
Oh,
This because
well,
my daughter
come.
drills this into my head.
right?
So-
yeah, my daughter too.
Right?
privilege.
Oh,
we should
God,
put our
they're
daughters. They would
all
love each other.
over it.
Your daughter and my daughter would love
Jeez.
each other.
Oh, white privilege, blah 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 blah. blah.
Well, you're lucky you're not a man. Male white
Oh,
privilege
yeah,
is
yeah,
over
that's
the-
really
yeah,
nasty
bad,
right
bad,
now.
Bad.
No, but so I think just get back to the assembly thing. I think I was in choir and band, right? it mattered to me that the fucking sixth graders were there. It made me nervous.
Yeah.
I remember we did the Hallelujah chorus one time, and my mom came, and I remember being embarrassed. Like, I hope nobody knows she's my mother.
Yeah.
But when the kids were there, I was fucking nervous. Like, you're not going to fuck up, are you? Yeah. And you know what I mean? Because it's your peers
like
you're
that.
performing
Here's
for.
another question. Here's one for you guys. How can I help my 75-year-old mother who suffers from anxiety, osteoarthritis, possibly lupus, which she does not have?
Right, because she's 70.
Exactly. She's 75.
Yeah.
Help her get off Norco and Xanax. She truly believes that she needs both for pain and anxiety. She stays within the prescribed parameters, however, is always anxious and in pain. I get
She's
very
in withdrawal. She
maybe,
needs to up
maybe
the
not.
dose. She needs to up the dose.
Maybe. I get very philosophical.
No, I never want to get people like that off.
Right.
I had a doctor.
I'm with you.
I had a doctor who was same thing, 75, and I met. It's actually somebody we all know, father-in-law.
Yeah.
And I met with him, and I said, "You've been taking the same amount of benzos for 25 years. You're in withdrawals all the time. That's why you're
Feeling the way
he
you're
was
feeling.
wandering around and kind of didn't know where he was.
Well,
and
but that's
But
not-
that's another
Alzheimer's
thing.
too,
That's
right?
70. That's as you age. That's what benzos do to the brain.
But
Yeah.
also agitated, irritable, almost punched the son-in-law.
That's all benzos too.
But that's also like people who have not progressed and connected to their geriatric sort of communities.
Their geriatric states.
Oh, doctors
Yes.
never want to. So,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it turned out he had been self-administering
boy.
for 25 years. I said, why don't you call a doctor that you like and go to him and say,
Right.
is this the right amount of
That's
benzos
right.
I
Have
should
somebody
be
else
on?
manage it.
Because
That's
he
right.
was like
Managing
78.
himself.
Yeah, as soon as you get 80, if people are on opiates, just enough
Stay
that they don't
on
hurt
it.
themselves,
But
stay on it, get the
slow.
minimum dose necessary. But the benzo part, as you age, really starts to become a problem. Mostly
very
from the
big problem.
standpoint of cognition and
My
irritability
grandmother
and stuff
was
like that.
on Xanax
Yeah.
for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
She cognitively developed so much
Trouble.
symptoms. She literally became,
Incapacitated.
totally
What'd
incapacitated.
you guys do for her? Anything? Just let it be? or-
Seroquel.
Yeah.
We moved to Seroquel,
Did it
but the
work?
doctors were so freaked out by the Seroquel because of the heart condition and because of these.
Right.
Geriatric was so different from anything that I've
No,
ever
that's
done.
correct. That's correct.
So they were really low doses. But my grandmother had dementia.
Mm-hmm.
But the onset of the dementia came with the benzos.
Yep.
And so you couldn't tell what
And sometimes
was
it
what.
goes to minimal cognitive change too, minimal cognitive impairment, and that is enough to make them look demented with the benzos. What's the other thing?
But
Well,
she's
she had
describing.
classic, though, type of dementia where she saw little animals and
nothing wrong with
children.
that.
Well, little animals and
nothing wrong
children.
with that.
Turns out as you age. Did she have vision problems?
Yes.
Yeah, macular degeneration.
yes.
They see little animals and people on horseback.
that's what she saw.
That's the macular degeneration. That's not her cognition.
Okay,
So
so
glad I
that
didn't
wasn't
get
even
that.
cognition.
Yeah.
But get back
Right?
to this person. The drugs they're taking aren't working for the anxiety and
Keep
pain.
taking
They
that
need to go to a
Xanax.
doctor and try something else.
Right. The point is the philosophical issue is this: we don't approach this as addiction anymore.
No,
at that point, yeah.
You're not recommended to get that person off drugs.
Not
at that-
maybe the
at the-
Xanax or maybe on something different or whatever. But yes, that's generally the correct answer.
Okay, we have another family crisis here.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay, so Sandy's been asking a bunch of questions and everybody wants to know. Okay, so what's the definition of trauma? What your opinion of a divorced mother who takes her 6-year-old son out to a bar, trolling? And then the last one was, what do you say to a 12-year-old who found private photos of you and his stepmother who shared photos with his friends?
Wait, hold on here.
So this is the same person.
Okay.
Wait.
So
There's something
the
going on.
6-year-old going to a bar
Was this
is-
person as a 6-year-old going to the bar with his mother? Is that what he's saying?
It says, want your opinion of a divorced mother who takes her 6-year-old son to a hotel bar?
Okay, I call
Hotel bar.
I call that woman ill,
Yeah.
and the child traumatized. Yes,
Yes.
that is highly traumatic.
What is your
Yes.
definition of trauma?
That
What's
is trauma. That is highly traumatic.
I
And
used to go to the bar with my dad. It was pretty
Yeah,
fun.
but-
And look at what happened to you.
Yeah, I know, it worked pretty well.
Exactly.
But you hear what she said: trolling for men. It's
That's
kinda
even
it's
more.
kinda weirdly
That's covert.
covert sexual.
That's
abuse.
They get on Tinder,
covert.
That's
right?
the covert sexual
Yes,
abuse.
exactly.
And then what do you say to a 12-year-old who found private photos of you and his stepmother who shared photos with his friends?
Wait, of you?
I don't know.
I can't put it
this
together.
happens more often. Let me help you.
It,
All right.
Maybe she
So,
didn't describe
you ever
it.
heard of an iCloud?
Yeah.
This stuff is causing this kind of trouble.
Okay,
everywhere.
all right.
Okay.
Right?
It sounds like one issue is that one stepmother is sharing photos
Yes.
with the child's friends.
Yes.
Covert sexual abuse.
More, it's probably the same
No, I
person.
think the kid found him and he's sharing them with his friends.
But that's another issue.
That's a different issue. But I
Right.
think it's probably the same woman in both cases. That's
Our
what I
feed's
said.
a little, it lags behind a
okay.
little bit, so
Okay.
we're gonna wait and hear if
Okay.
she responds. But maybe you
the
answered a
iCloud
question.
is a dangerous thing, Drew.
Yeah, I get that. Listen, the internet, the whole social media thing.
And I feel like if people...
Or maybe after she went to the bar and got drunk, she accidentally showed the pictures
No,
to the
I'm-
12-year-old son.
But
regardless of if it's an accident or not, it's still trauma.
yeah.
Yes.
Doesn't matter what condition the parent is in.
No, I'm trying to
love-
hold the parents responsible for this iCloud. So it happened to me in the negative. I saw something I shouldn't have seen.
When?
It's heartbreaking. You
Okay.
just don't want
Yeah.
to see it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
here's the answer.
So that somehow this is this, and it happened to another friend of mine
Sure.
in New York, where the 16-year-old daughter, all of a sudden, pictures of her and her boyfriend.
This is why you don't do the
You
sexting.
can't-
No.
oh, okay. Yeah. I
no,
think
but
the
it's just
12-year-old
any photo you take with your phone will
know.
load into the iCloud.
Yeah,
I
it
know.
does. Yeah, I think the 12-year-old found the pictures and is showing her.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
gotcha,
that's
gotcha.
so
I'm
No
telling you,
bueno.
this stuff is happening all the time.
Yes.
And nobody's
Yes.
talking about it.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Well, everybody.
Well, everybody's phones are connected with their computers.
Yes.
And connected, so you have to
Yes.
not do that.
don't be taking pictures of yourself without clothes on.
I don't know why people like to do that.
Yeah.
I don't
I
either.
mean, it is a real issue. It's traumatizing. It is trauma. However, it happens.
But
Remember
let's talk about
it's trauma.
pornography
Do you
for a
remember
second.
when-
12-year-olds are already seeing pornography on the internet.
Yeah.
That's more traumatizing than
we don't even know.
this situation.
Yes, we don't even know the full effect of that yet.
Well,
But
That's
do you
gonna
remember?
be
Do you remember
7
when
generations to be
you
able
were in
to
the
figure
sex
this
addiction
out.
show? No, wait a minute.
Yes.
No, it was Celebrity Rehab 1 when one of our patients showed Mary Carey some pictures of himself.
Yes.
That to me was when that happened. I was like, "What is he doing?" Who knew? That was the beginning of a whole.
Oh,
of a
I
whole-
knew.
Well, you knew what that was then?
Of course.
I never even heard of that until he
I've
did
been
that.
Around sex addicts, my whole
Well, I guess
Yeah.
that's
a
right.
lot of sex addiction.
But the point is that
I mean, I call it addiction.
I know,
Somebody else calls it pathology. I don't know what is
but
it.
he was doing something that every 19-year-old does now.
Yes.
Which is weird.
I just think that parents aren't stopping themselves and thinking, I'm a parent. They're acting like teenagers a lot of time. Like I see it a lot.
Yes,
where they want their
definitely.
freedom
Well,
and teenager and,
okay,
and,
there's a guy
and
named-
I'm a parent.
there's a guy
no,
named-
you're a parent all the time.
there's a
The
guy
teenage
named-
shit has to go.
A guy named Jordan Peterson talks about this a lot, and he really thinks particularly men are underdeveloped. Narcissism is a primitive personality state. It's an underdeveloped personality, and we're staying in these sort of Peter Pan modes. We're staying children. We're staying adolescent. We're not becoming fully engaged.
You want to know why I think it
adults.
is? Because I've dealt with a lot of my peers, let's say, my friends. Depression. When men hit their 45,
Yeah, but
50,
if you're not developed by the time you're 25,
they revert back to prior behaviors where they felt more alive and more alive is what I hear described as more than
that's
anything.
narcissism. That's
It's
I'm old and
depression.
depressed, and I
Yeah.
can't find meaning anymore.
So I get buy a motorcycle. That's exactly.
Yeah, I'm going to be 25 and deny my age, and that's narcissism writ large.
No, but wasn't it called midlife crisis before?
Yeah.
I think it's going on now.
It was called that, and it was bullshit. It was strictly assholes who are narcissistic,
Well, most
who
of
want
my
to act
friends
out.
are kind of that
You know,
way.
that was always an excuse for horrible behavior, midlife crisis. And by the
Have
way,
you witnessed it?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah,
But
definitely.
we're-
but you
we're
agree with
from-
me that men are sort of underdeveloped a little bit?
I
And women
do,
women become then aggressive and dominating, trying to get men to join the adult population.
Yeah, to
But I think-
become adults. Yeah, that and then it has like a codependency flavor to it.
Yep.
That develops out of that.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can you answer that woman's question? What to say to a 12-year-old who's
Get help.
Seeing the
No,
photos?
get
I
help.
would. Yeah, I would
get-
say that might
what kind
need
of
to
help?
go into family therapy, right?
That's
to
not,
discuss that.
That's not a parenting issue. That
he
is a
needs
mental
to
health
talk
issue.
to
That's-
somebody.
Yeah, you need to get somebody
But
either
I guarantee you
family
he's
therapist or
looking at
adolescent
porn
therapist.
too, for sure. It's not by accident he
I think
found
take
those
away
photos.
the cloud.
It's not by accident he found the photos.
and clean up your phone and clean up your photos and and also but don't try to sweep it under the rug like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because that's a big mistake.
But I don't trust. I don't think that average person knows how to deal with that.
No,
You
I
need
think
help
it
with that.
definitely needs a therapist involved.
Here's a good one. How do I get a judge to court? No. Yes, to court order my son to rehab. Currently in jail for the 7th time in 4 years. Goes back to stealing, so he has money for drugs. Put him in rehab 3 years ago. Walked out 2 weeks later. Please help me.
Where at? Where does the person live?
Can't tell from this.
Well, you can try to get
area code. No.
drug court.
209. What's area code 209?
209.
Don't know.
Yeah, look it up. But yeah, drug court. But if the judge were going to mandate court order treatment, it's got to be a year or two.
Yeah, it's got to be a long term.
Yeah, not a couple of months. That won't do it. And maybe even 3 or 4 years. And in some states, they have good in-prison rehab treatments.
Where?
Like Indiana. Indiana's amazing stuff.
Well, good, because
Amazing.
Indiana is going back down the rabbit hole from
Meth.
Violent crimes are up. Indiana is actually experiencing incredible crisis in,
I went over there. What's 209?
That's like
border.
Modesto, Stockton,
Okay.
Lake Arrowhead area.
So in California,
There's
we
drug
don't
court
have
up there.
in custody, but we don't have good in
No,
custody
there's no
programs.
treatment.
No,
I
we
mean,
don't.
I
need in-custody
I'm going to look more
programs.
into what you've heard about Ohio because I haven't heard that.
I went. Amber, who was one of the teen moms, was arrested.
There's like 40 beds,
no,
and she's a
what happened?
celebrity,
No,
right?
hold on. She was arrested for fentanyl. She actually threw herself on the court and said, "I'm going to die if you don't put me in prison." Put her in for 5 years. Year 1, she found her way into a program, and was,
It's like 40 beds.
in this one prison, which is a relatively
That's
small
big.
There's
prison.
10,000 people dying
No, I
every
understand,
6
but
months.
the quality of care there was exceptional.
Good.
Is there
Exceptional.
something up with her right now, Amber?
New boyfriend. They're worried about it. Blah blah blah. That's what
She
I'm
isn't
hearing.
using?
I'm going to see them in a
I
couple.
saw an email. I was
Or,
No,
I'm going
what-
to see them in
what-
March. So
Those pilot programs that place are having, they do have them. We have one here in Linwood Jail. It's like 80 beds.
So what does she do? What does she do? Good. Find a judge that's sympathetic. Long-term prison. What do you? There are programs in California prisons.
Yeah, but
They're not-
I think we need more information on what the drugs are. There violent crimes? What kind of crimes are being committed?
Sounds like
might
just
but it might be
stealing.
mental illness.
It's true.
But
We
why not-
don't know what it is from that email.
But
Like
why
exactly
not get
how
to
to
her
advise
thing?
them.
Here's an interesting thing. In my heart of hearts, if it's mental illness, I got to ride everywhere all the time, and I got to do for my child that has mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
right? If it's a drug addict and they're grown-ass adults, I don't ride far,
Sure.
right? There's too much doing for these
Yeah.
drug addict kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that
So
The-
maybe
the
now,
mixing-
okay. So an easy a free service. Go to Al-Anon and just put
I
your
love
ass
Al-Anon
put your
for
ass in there.
this.
Yeah, put your
I
ass
love
in there
Al-Anon for this.
and see where it goes, and let the cards fall.
Yeah, but also the parents need guidance as to what to say. And say the same things I said to my kid. Like, I love you. I don't know what to do. I don't have an answer for you. You know, that kind of honesty. Instead of like, I'm going to fix
We're gonna
it.
fix it, yeah.
but
right?
that's all Al-Anon stuff that's addressed there.
Okay,
What?
here's a good
To
question.
say
Al-Anon.
to them?
Yeah,
Here's somebody
how to talk
on
to them.
on 2 milligrams a day of Suboxone. Thing is, I've been on for 7 years. It's
Okay.
horrible. I hate it, but
Okay.
it's better than what I was doing. She was an
Yeah.
opiate addict.
Okay.
I guess I have a love-hate relationship. She's listening. Suboxone, I've come to realize that I might be taking it forever. That's true. She might be taking it forever if
She
she's
might be.
functioning
2
and okay.
milligrams.
I mean, it's not something I'm interested in because it's not a thriving existence for her. It's kind of
Right.
she's aware
Well,
that
she says she's
not,
miserable.
She's not her full self, her full potential, but it's better than what she was doing.
Okay.
She wants to know about kratom and using that. It's like, no,
No,
don't
no,
do that.
no.
Don't do that.
No, I would suggest that as somebody on 2 milligrams, right, should enlist in a 12-step program, get a sponsor,
Yep.
start working the steps,
Yep.
and come off of that
If possible.
slowly,
If possible.
slowly come off
well, how
of
do you get
it.
2? You're pretty much
They
start
cut
cutting
'em. They
Yeah,
cut
okay.
'em.
All right.
Cut them and then take a day off. Cut them,
Yep.
take a day
Yes,
off,
yes.
and really elongate that out. Have the social support network available all the time. And then you may need some other medications like some clonidine.
When you get off it.
When you get off it completely. Clonidine, some gabapentin.
Be aware that you're going to be different when you get off, and
Yes.
you're going to have to really rely on that program you've been establishing.
Exactly. But establish the program first
Okay.
So, like,
and move into that.
Good.
Here's
This
how-
may take 6 months to a year.
It absolutely may take 6 months.
Here's
to a year.
how a guy that I know that got off it described it. So you're going along. You were like this.
Yeah, all over the place.
Like
yeah.
this.
Yeah.
And you've been going along like this for like 3 or 4 years. And you get off of it, and it goes like this.
Right. That's right.
And he was
Well, describe what
involved.
we're on a podcast. What did you just do? You were showing
it's
up and
it's
down.
an emotional dip. It's a existential angst. It's a what is
downturn.
life about?
It's kind of depression.
It's anhedonia.
Yeah.
And then, the steps that he had worked on Suboxone weren't working for him.
Not quite.
Down in the dip part.
Right.
And he started to become disillusioned. I was like, dude, it's not the AA's fault.
Right.
You've gone off a drug. It's a profound drug. We still don't know even all its effects on us.
And it could be a rough year.
And
could be a rough year.
It's going to be a
I
rough
said
year.
6
Just
months.
accept
I
it.
said 6 months.
I
Don't
was-
say a year.
If I were talking to the patient, I'd say the same thing.
Right. Yeah, 6 months. 6 months.
Yeah,
3
and
to
you're,
6.
and you're
Sounds
already
better.
been through 2.
3 to
so
6.
more, like 3 more months,
3 to
you're going to be
6,
feeling better.
8-ish.
All right, Miss Producer, are we okay here to wrap it up? Okay, our Facebook
Okay.
Live dies, so that will be a sign unto us.
Okay.
That's a sign
Thank
from-
you to Shelly. Thanks to our friends at Bergamet and Hydrolite.
Hydrolite.
Give your program.
Oh, yeah. Bel Air
Bel Air
treatment.
treatment.
Bel Air treatment.
And do you have a website or
Bel Air
anything?
Valley Detox. What's our website, Bel Air?
Bel Air?
Do you have a
Bellair.com.
personal Twitter or something that people can follow you and tweet you and stuff?
No, I don't.
Nothing like that.
No, but here's the deal. If
Good.
you want to get off drugs and you want to find Shelly, go to Sepulveda and Sunset and then drive up north towards
To
the Getty
Moraga.
and look for all the cigarette smoke. You'll find her.
Hopefully.
Well, they're on the-
80
All right,
clients.
thanks.
She has 80 clients.
I know. I've been there. They're on the other
It's
side. They're on the
crazy.
other side from the
Of the freeway.
Getty. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
opposite side from the
But
Getty.
Sepulveda's on that side.
Oh, I see.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Great to have you
I
as
hope
always.
I get to come back. Thank you so
You're
much.
going to have your own show.
I'm so excited about all of these new things that we could talk about.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I feel like people are coming to podcast for more elaboration of the truth.
Yeah, what we're
But
experiencing.
I don't in life. I don't mean just our podcast. I've noticed lots of people are because media doesn't provide any information anymore. The educational system is sort of people are hungry for real info, and they're coming to podcasts for sort of long form conversation exploration of things, by people that know what they're
That's
talking
why
about.
Shelly needs one. So
Right.
all of you at Facebook Live, all of you that listening, email Susan that she has to have a Shelly podcast on the
All right.
Drew Network.
All right. Done.
Okay.
All right. We'll see
All
you
right.
next time.
Good night.
Bye.
There you go.
Bye.
Well, we're so pleased to have Hydrolite back. Hydrolite is something that we and my family use just about every day, and it is simply the best oral rehydration product I have ever seen. And there are many reasons you should keep some around. I got the flu. I relied on Hydrolite because I knew it would rehydrate me the way an IV fluid would. We all have heard about the flus and the diarrheas, and they all knock you out. Staying well hydrated is critical to getting over these conditions. Even if you manage to avoid getting infected, your schedule is half as busy as mine. Getting 8 glasses of water a day isn't likely to happen. And you don't need it if you've got the proper hydration product, Hydrolite. That is the beauty. Whether you're sick or not, you can absolutely benefit from proper balance of sodium, glucose, and water. Hydrolite does this better than a sports drink or water alone. That's right, better. And it comes in great flavors like orange, berry, lemonade. It's available in a pre-mixed powder. My personal preference is little effervescent tablets. You can simply drop in a bottle of water or a glass of water, and you're done. You got it, and you are rehydrated. And compared to sports drinks, Hydrolite delivers up to 4 times the electrolytes with 75% less sugar. I know. Don't buy into the hype of the brands. Use Hydrolite. It's a better product. I'm telling you. I had intended to invent it. They got there first, so I'm all behind them. Hydrolite solutions are appropriate for all ages, and each bottle or package includes easy-to-follow dosing instructions. Order Hydrolite today at hydrolite.com/DRDREW. That is hydrolite.com/Dr. Drew. And for a limited time, our listeners can save 30% on Hydrolite. We actually buy in bulk in our family. So we're going to click through. Believe me. Just click the banner on my site and use the code DRDREW18. That is DRDREW18.
Remember, you can find all these podcasts at drdrew.com. the Dr. Drew podcast, the This Life podcast, and the Adam and Drew podcast, which is available 5 days a week. Find them all on iTunes and rate us 5 stars. Subscribe and get it first. And if you're really happy, click on the Amazon banner at drdrew.com to help support the show. We'll thank you for it. If you join the email list via drdrew.com/contact, we'll send you a weekly infusion newsletter with Dr. Drew's news. We're so grateful when you get in touch. We read all your emails and we'll bring you the subject matter you want to hear about.
You live.